Welcome back. We are on week 2 of the ingredients that Mr. Gary Vaynerchuk from 12 and a half, leveraging emotional ingredients necessary to create success in business. However, I believe that these 12 emotions are assets to be able to enhance any person and their ability to create whatever sort of success they're working towards. Just in the past week of reading these, I've noticed a difference in how I flow through my tasks, how I communicate my relationships, and just how and where I'm at mentally with myself throughout the day and throughout the week. So week 2 is self-awareness. All right? Self-awareness is the conscious knowledge of one's own character, feelings, motives, and desires. His first sentence of this chapter is like, if there's one thing that I could wish upon society aside from good health, it would be a new drug to help everyone develop these emotional ingredients. And if I were the FDA, if Gary was, the first one would be to prioritize self-awareness. That's how valuable it is. He goes on to say that delusional people lack awareness about their strengths and weaknesses. And this is because self-awareness has a close relationship with self-love and self-acceptance. So you have to understand that if you are not self-aware and if you're not choosing to, one, you're unaware of what you are good at and what you're not so good at. And the correlation then of the two and why you avoid becoming self-aware is because it's a very close relationship with your self-love and self-acceptance. And this insecurity often leads to avoidance. Period, the end. If you do not love and accept yourself, there's not going to be that heightened awareness or understanding of yourself that's going to approach things, especially if they're uncomfortable. So, and this is very basic in all things, he says people tend to be most avoidant of their own flaws. Which is interesting because coming from the coaching space, we tend to focus on our qualities that we're not so good at, and we're trained to delegate them or hire them out. And what's interesting is he says self-acceptance helps one embrace one's self-awareness, not avoid it. And it's so true because as a self-employed entrepreneur who's a recovering perfectionist, super type A, I really struggle to let things go and or hand things off. And part of it is, and that's not something that's I consider a good quality. I get better at that. And some may say, well, okay, that's just a part and it's a character and that's acceptance. Yes, and I get to also then accept, because if I don't accept that about myself, I'm just going to continue to overload myself with tasks that I don't necessarily need to do. So this self-acceptance really helps one embrace self-awareness and not avoid it so that you can get familiar with what are you not necessarily good at and be willing to have those conversations and address those characteristics or desires and to create something different. Another thing he said in the self-awareness chapter is I'm willing to separate, it's the ability of saying, hey, I'm willing to separate who I am from who I wish I could be. And that is a challenge for people who are insecure. They're not willing to say, this is where I'm at and that is where I want to be. And what's the difference and what do I get to change and or accept and love and admire and grow from within the difference of those two perspectives. And then the last thing he said is triple down on what you're naturally good at. Ironically, you'll find that it actually compensates for your weaknesses more effectively than trying to turn your weakness into strength. And so it just goes to show that self-awareness is one of the skills that in coaching, absolutely, it is the most important and most valuable tool and skill we have, yet we're not taught it. So the action step for this ongoing week is to check in with yourself. Check in with how you're feeling, check in with what you're thinking, and check in with what you're willing to admit about yourself and Where are you on the level of self-love and self-acceptance? Is there room for growth? Is there room for acceptance? I hope that this is valuable. If it is, please leave a comment below, like, subscribe, share it with a friend that needs to hear this, and I will see you next week for the third emotion. Take care.